G'day, it's Annette here from far north Queensland in Australia. This week I wanted to try the bloom lace technique that's been getting around on Instagram and Facebook and in YouTube. I've only ever done a minor amount of blooms. I have arthritis in my hands and my hands shake, but it was such a pretty technique I've decided to give it a try. Hey everyone, I thought I'd give the bloom, perhaps the lace technique, a go, which I think was from Kim's Art Alchemy originally, but I have so many different alcohol inks, some from many years ago. So I've picked up very similar colours in each set so that I can try 4 different coasters with this technique and see how I go. I'll be trying with Cast & Craft Opaque White as my bloom section, and I've got Ranger inks here, Octopus inks, fluid inks there. I have Resin Warehouse here, and Deco Realm there. Pretty much a dark blue, a light blue and a purple. I'm going to mix up my resin, put my mask on. I've measured how much goes in here. There's about 90 mils, so I'm thinking first layer about 45 mils hopefully. Take off maybe about 40 mils to make the white and 1 drop of the Cast & Craft per 10 mils. I've very rarely done blooms at all, so I'm not very good at piping. I have arthritis in my hands and my hands just naturally shake. So we shall see how we go. I mixed my resin for the recommended time and put it aside until it got to 32 degrees. I decanted 40 mils of clear resin and just put it off to one side, and then poured, hopefully, roughly equally amounts in each coaster. I used a silicone makeup brush then to just push the resin right out to the edge of each coaster. This first layer of resin doesn't need to be deep, it just needs to cover the entire surface of the bottom of the coaster. Then you can start laying in your alcohol inks. I started with my purple colour first, and I put 2 drops in each coaster. Next I did the darker blue from each set and did 1 drop of each around each circle of the purple. I aimed for 5 drops for the 5 petals. Lastly, I did the pale blue and went in between the dark blue with 1 drop of each as well, so another 5 drops. When I completed all 4 coasters, you leave them long enough for the alcohol ink to stop spreading out, and it was at this stage I realised I've probably put in too much. Being my first attempt at this, I was a bit overzealous, I think. Anyway, not to worry. I was also having trouble with the Ranger inks. They kept on dripping in the wrong place, even though I'd cleaned the nozzles quite well before I started. Once all the inks were down and had spread out, I added 4 drops of the Cast & Craft White to my 40 mils of clear resin, mixed that well, and then put it into a piping bag. Then you take the piping bag and the mixture out of your cup support, twist the end to push all the mixture down to the point. Cut off a tiny tip at the end. Just be careful you don't cut over your coasters, because you could end up with a bit of plastic in there. I tested that my mixture could come out onto a paper towel, and it looked okay, although it still looked a bit runny, but I went ahead and started piping anyway. I chose to just do something really simple for my piping, and that was an outer loop and then a smaller inner loop on each petal of my coasters. I continued piping, going from one coaster to the next until I had completed all 4. Then I used a silicone pointy tool and went from the center outward to the point of each petal to make a flower shape. I'm not pushing the tool all the way down to the bottom, it's just skimming across the surface, and with each pass from the center to the outside edge, I wiped it on my paper towel as well, just to keep it as clean as possible. Lastly, I used the same silicone tool and did a little swirl in the middle, wiping the tool again after each time. Okay, it's 4 hours later for these, and they're firm to touch, so I'm going to try this second bit. This is something I've never ever done before, and I'll be using my own white paste that I made up about a year ago. I forgot to say, in this first bit here, the resin I used, Let's Resin Fast Cure. Now I'll be using Artline Honey, which is a 2-to-1. The other one was a 1-to-1. There'll be 60 grams of resin and 2 grams of white. My Artline Honey resin has all been mixed up, and I've got my PPE on now, so hence I'm not talking anymore. You can pretty well see what I am doing, and I did explain that it'd be the 60 grams of clear resin with the 2 grams of the white. I did make a mess trying to pour my white mix out from a little cup, and I think next time if I give this a try, I'll do this section with a piping bag. Once all the white is around each coaster, you pour your remaining clear resin as evenly as possible into each coaster. Pour it into the middle so it pushes the white out. The resin naturally moves back towards the center, so this effect, if it does create it with my own white to get the lacing effect, is caused when the white moves back towards the middle. Lastly, I added 1 more drop of the purple from each set to each coaster. I stayed in the room and put this on time lapse, which is coming up, and the time lapse was 45 minutes, so you can see how it moves over that period of time. Of course, that's sped up in this video, as you'll see. Let's get these out and see how they worked. So we might go around that way. That was the brightest colour. The octopus fluids were the lightest, so that was kind of interesting to me, that the Ranger inks were quite bright, but I've had these a very long time, so the alcohol might have evaporated a bit in them. So this one here was Octopus Fluids Plum, Royal Blue and Lagoon, and they're all alcohol inks. Thought I'd better check because I have other octopus fluids, but they're just resin ink. Stop that. Okay, let's have a look. I can see they've done the lace effect, but whether I've got too much colour, especially in this one, for you to even see that on the other side, which is interesting because this is my own white paste. Okay. Have I got a bit of black cards somewhere? Oh, wow. Okay, so my white, I've got way too much white. It's kind of pretty though, isn't it? Nice effect. The next one is this one. It is the Resin Warehouse. And that's a dark violet. Royal blue. And a sky blue. I really kind of like this side actually. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Wow. Oh, that is gorgeous. Not quite at the effect, as I said, too much white, but wow. What a pretty colour combination, the purple, blue and white are. The Dacorum in lavender, blueberry, and forget-me-not. Again, quite pretty here. Wow, that's pretty. Wow, look at that, very pretty. And lastly are my Ranger colours. What does that say? Wild something. Wild plum, maybe? We'll have to try and find what that one is exactly. And sailboat blue. And this one is pool. I know that's pool because it's one of my favourite colours. These were the most pigmented, so I'm not sure whether they'll show up very well. Interesting. My own white paste worked, which is good. I might try it as the bloom white next time and do the same experiment and see how I go. Okay, so there's more patches through here on this one. Wow. That is gorgeous. I really like that. But weirdly enough, not much of a lace effect compared to the others. Here are images of each individual coaster. You've got to admit, resin is pretty amazing, the things that you can do with it and the interactions it has, whether you've used a paste, a pigment or a mica powder. I'm pretty sure I'll give this another go, and I might just use the same colours as they're out on my desk, and I'll try piping it. Hopefully I'll remember to do less white, but if I forget, I might give a third go. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed my videos. It does help YouTube recognise me. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.